Marriage counselors of Reddit. What's the stupidest reason a couple has made an appointment? Couldn't decide on which chicken to buy for their chicken farm. Sounds like a Portlandia sketch lol. Is it organic? His name was Colin. Have you met Aleki? It's always the dishes. I don't see couples anymore because I cannot have one more conversation with adult human beings about the various philosophies of dishwashing. As a younger person, I want to say that the game is rigged. We've learned from our parents. Don't rush into marriage. Test out sexual compatibility. Check and check. But do you know how long it takes to establish dishwashing compatibility? I can't trust anyone else in my house to wash the dishes correctly. They always miss something. Whenever my boyfriend does dishes, I always rewash most of them cause he always misses something. We will eat sauce-based food and stack the plates and my GF won't even clean the bottom of the plates. Makes me irrationally mad. A lot of couples schedule counseling for legitimate reasons like communication issues, but then it will come out that the real reason is something stupid and they don't even realize it. I had a couple married 25 years who were struggling to connect, and it turned out they were resentful of each other because they both wanted to spend various holidays with their families of origin. Never talked about it, never mentioned it, just both simmered in silent resentment for 25 years. It was resolved so quickly once it was unearthed. Another couple came in for parenting challenges. Told me very casually they hadn't had sex since their youngest was conceived. How old is your youngest? 13. Both were acting like it was completely normal and fine and unrelated. Turned out it was not normal and not fine and definitely related. Referred for sex therapy and heard the whole family happily graduated from therapy within months. The entire family was seeking therapy with different counselors for different reasons, or so they thought. No, they were not doing family sex therapy. I can't believe I just typed family sex therapy. Never talked about it. Never mentioned it. Just both simmered in silent resentment for 25 years. Well, that's not communication issues. I'm a counselor with teenagers and kids. A school staff member dragged these two teens into my office one day, a boy and a girl. Both were clearly upset, but definitely didn't want to talk about it with me. You could have cut the tension with a knife as they sat frozen in their chairs staring at the floor. I saw them and thought, oh duck, she's pregnant. I'm trying not to panic at how to handle the situation as I finally get them talking, and it turns out they were just fighting because he sent a text to some girl. A text. At least she wasn't pregnant. Always a legitimate concern when teens are involved. I had a woman come in for couples counseling. Over the phone she reported that her boyfriend, with the same last name, very confusing, was distant and was refusing to listen. When the session started it was just her that showed up. She went on and on about how absent he was and how he refused to see the progress she had been making in her life. It turns out the boyfriend was an ex who had a restraining order against her and lived halfway across the country from her. She was delusional and was receiving treatment for her mental health issues. She just could not get her thinking away from him and legally changed her last name to his because it would mean they would be together. She figured couples counseling was the way to work out their relationship issues. Edit. Not sure this is a stupidest, but it is definitely the most bizarre reason I have had someone make an appointment. Wow. This is by far the most insane one on this thread. This is one of most insane things I read in a while, and I'm on Reddit every day. You guys should read about erotomania. Sounds like she was suffering from this psychological condition. My uncle and his wife. Reasoning. She lost a frying pan. I mean, I get that it's a stupid argument. But how the duck do you lose a frying pan? Cupboard, hob, next to sink, into sink to soak, next to sink, because other things need washing. Angry wife puts all the washing in the garden out of spite, because husband never does the ducking washing up, and the kitchen is a ducking mess. Raccoon steals frying pan. Meh. I managed to put a pair of boots through the washer and dry the 2 ducking weeks 2 damn weeks. But this is the same guy that sunk a stationary speedboat and survived 9/11. So duck, yeah, this dude goes to a marriage counselor because milliseconds. Woofy misplaced a pan in the attic. I work with a lot of kids. And I see far more stupid reasons that couples have not scheduled an appointment. Parents spill their guts while explaining what's wrong with their children. And 90% of the time it's the parents' marriage causing issues with the child/family. This is totally not a catch-all statement, because many children have true behavioral/emotional challenges separate from their parents' marriage. But at the same time, if you feel like your child is struggling and you have tried everything, maybe try marriage counseling. Oh, this is so true. LCSW here. Worked with kiddos and families for a good chunk of my career, and 95% of the time, if the kid is having issues, there's a parenting issue or a marriage/partner problem. Why are there so many terrible parents out there? Why are there so many parents who don't know how to parent? It's a cycle. Children are raised by parents who do not know how to parent, or are unable to parent. These children then go into to raise a family of their own. Intergenerational trauma is very real. It can be broken, but is a tough endeavor. This is why my wife and I decided to not have kids. Both of our families have long histories of trauma and substance abuse. I myself have been sober for 20 years, after spending about 8 years badly strung out in my 20s. We are near 50 and are in a far healthier place than the first half of our lives, but even still we just didn't want to continue the curse. They got into a domestic because he wouldn't try her jam. We really need a context here though. I had a BF who gaslighted and psychologically tortured me for years. I remember how he never appreciated anything I did, and I was never enough. One day I made a special bread for him which took me a whole day to make. He never tasted it. He said, "I'm sure it's shut." That was the last straw. Somehow I found the strength to leave him after that. But you can also look at our last moment and say she left him BC he didn't taste her bread. Nicely put. Not a counselor, but my friend is one. And a couple came to her, unofficially, because the wife wouldn't tell her hubby when her mum was coming over because she knew he'd be sick or out that day. Who was the monster, husband or Mill? The real question. I had a pimp and one of his 6 workers come to see me because they were having jealousy issues. They were legally married and he was unhappy with how she couldn't leave work at work. Best couple ever. What does that mean? Does she call her clients in her downtime or talk about work with her husband? That has so many layers of dysfunction. I'm intrigued. I want stories. Not me, but my buddy's wife demanded counseling after he refused to fix his habit of leaving the seat up. Apparently the straw that broke the camel's back was he didn't realize his poo came back up and she fell into the toilet on his old waterlogged shut. Poseidon's embrace. I would have gone with the Kraken or something, but that's just me. Nothing is really stupid in making the decision to come in for a couples session. But the most startling session I've had was when the couple had barely sat down and one of them informed the other that the relationship was over, turned to me and said thank you for supporting partner through this and left the office. Jesus, that's cold. Vaccinate their child. Dad say go. Mom says no. Go. Dad, go. See dad go. See dad run. Dad, please take son. Single mom becomes hun. I'm a clinical therapist and had a client bring in their spouse for a session. They both have sporadically treated bipolar disorder. I can only but assume what a wild ride their kids are on. Poor kids. He insists Jar Jar is a Sith Lord and she just doesn't care. I have never wanted a story to be true as much as I want to believe this. I'm choosing to believe it. I need this. With ducking covered. We all need this. From the other side, I ran into an ex-girlfriend after being broken up for a long time. We decided to go to couples counseling as friends to clarify some stuff from the past. We went to the session, talked about some heavy stuff, but then ended up being very supportive to each other and laughed and stuck up for each other in a weird way. At the end the counselor guy was just staring at us sort of dumbfounded and said something along the lines of, "Oh, you two clearly need to get back to Jetheri." Just remembered his face. He was looking at us like we were idiots. I think the idea of post-breakup couples counseling as friends might have been a new thing as well. I've never heard of anyone doing it before. But man, how nice would that be? Hey. I'm still dealing with the breakup. Oh. I'm sorry to hear that. I know it hit you hardest since I did the breaking up. Do you want to set up an appointment with a therapist to see if it'll help you through it? I'm more than happy to go. Hey, thanks. Yeah, let's do that. If only the majority of life could be so reasonable. It was actually awesome. For any kind of serious relationship, I think this is a good idea. I'm going to do it again, if possible, if I ever find myself in a similar situation. Side note, we got back together for about 10 days before she promptly cheated on me and told me it was my own fault, the reason we broke up a year prior. Last I heard, she crashed and burned pretty hard. We had some good years and I learned a lot. Wish her the best. I'm seriously so bummed that didn't work out, but I hope you find some love, if that's your wish. Live your best life. That's the best revenge. Pretending like they had no hold on you and being happy. Yeah, we were deeply in love for about 5 years. All I can do is cherish it and learn from it. We had a really fun and crazy story that could have been a novel. Unfortunately too unhealthy. People can't make a healthy relationship. Make sure your own mind is sound before going into a serious relationship. And don't be scared of counseling. Lol. Stupid selfish answer coming from a child who grew up with this. My mother scheduled an intervention. She and my sister and I met with a counselor and talked about all the things my dad did wrong. I would comment things that basically said I don't think that's the problem and would be constantly shut down. We had the intervention and my dad got sober for a while. Turns out, my mother is just an absolutely miserable child of a woman. When I lived with her, I saw glimpses of it. She broke a plate once, and when I asked why, she said, because I felt like it. Then when I started crying and picking up the pieces, she just drunkenly stumbled past me and went to bed. I think I was 12. She was 36 when I was born. When we went to pick my dad up from rehab, there was a group thing where they went around the room. Everyone would say something about their partner that they were there to pick up that they loved. My mother said she couldn't think of anything. My dad told me later in life that that was the moment he knew it was over. Turns out, they only got married in the first place because my mother's parents didn't want them living together before marriage. Scotch-Irish Catholics. Go figure. After years of dealing with a childish, emotionally stunted, generally shutty partner, he stopped trying. Then she played the victim. Same as her mother, and which she continues to do to this day. She lies about being happy while being heavily medicated. I reach out to her to meet my girlfriend of, at the time, 7 years, now 8. Bless her. And she somehow manages to make our schedule around the wedding we're there for, just making things difficult for her, and cancels. Telling me more or less, if you can't meet my exact criteria, duck you, I'm not even going to try. It's always something. I basically told her that's on her, and if you want to be a part of my life you need to make an effort. I went no contact a few months back, and it's better for my mental health. I'm sorry, but I'm glad to hear you and your father are in a better place now. I'm still pretty ducked up and dealing with mommy issues. I'm a 30-year-old alcoholic with bipolar 1. Better than when I lived with her as a teen though. For sure. My dad got married to a wonderful woman I view as my current mother figure. For all her flaws, she means well and is an adventurous and brave woman. She may have been the first female figure in my life that I'll learn to respect. There was a case in marriage laws in India where the husband complained to his wife that the food didn't have enough salt. The wife asked him to get the salt himself. The husband said, "If I have to do everything, why are you here? Go somewhere else and die." The next day his wife killed herself. The family of his wife came to complain, but he asked them to go somewhere else and die. They sued him for abetment of suicide, but his lawyer pleaded that he asked the in-laws to die as well. But they didn't, the wife did, but it cannot be abatement. Court declared him not guilty and set a precedent that abuses and words said in bhajan are not abetment. It's abetment. That's so awful. Poor wife. And OMG, screw that guy. Went to a counselor BC. My mother blew up over the bridal shower. There were 5 bridesmaids, her sister, maid of honor, her cousin, my 2 sisters, and her sister-in-law. Maid of honor lived in different state and no one was planning anything for the shower. Sister-in-law stepped up and did it all, and my mother lost her shut when they asked my sisters to help split the cost, but had no say in shower. Became the reason my now ex-wife hated my mom and family pretty much. Went to counseling and then became, if we have kids, your family will have nothing to do with them. My ex eventually got knocked up by some random and that was the final straw. So many red flags that I just didn't realize. Not a counselor, but sat in a bathroom for hours waiting for a guy and his GF to stop violently fighting about me being there behind her back apparently. Don't believe he says, folks. I know this has a lot of upvotes, but I'm struggling to understand the comment. I just woke up from a nap so maybe my reading hasn't kicked in yet. Can someone please explain it to me in small and numerous words? Guy has apartment. Guy invites friend over. GF comes over and sees friend and is mad that she wasn't told friend was over. Friend then hides in bathroom while guy and GF argue about nonsense possibly related to GF being mad that she's not informed or doesn't get enough time with him or whatever. Hope that helps. I need advice from a marriage counselor. My husband keeps threatening to have me arrested for perjury and calling the cops if I question him or say he's lying. Your husband absolutely cannot have you arrested for perjury. You need to take an oath in court to tell the truth and then deliberately lie to commit perjury. Please seek out domestic violence resources in your city/state/county. You are being abused. Please be safe. I had this couple in my office that was struggling with the fact that their dog would constantly piss in the bed. The husband was ready to boot the dog out, but the wife absolutely would not let that happen. They got the dog from a pretty reputable breeder, so the option of returning the dog was also there if they needed it. The husband doubted that, though. He said the breeder was some sort of creep that tries to hit on women when they go to buy dogs from him. The wife denied this, but the husband continued. The breeder tried to set up a date with the wife when she got the dog. He asked her if she wanted to go to this well-known Mexican restaurant in the town. The owner of the restaurant was kind of a prick, though. He would always skimp out on the chips and salsa and would charge you if you asked for another basket. He also berated the buses and waitresses in front of customers. Duck that guy. Username checks out. Where I live, some couples want to divorce for petty reasons due to corona, like there was no salt in the food or he only plays on his PS4 with our children the whole day. Sounds like he got out at a good time. Just popping in to remind everyone not to be shy to get marriage counseling, even if you think it might be too stupid based off this thread. Counselors get your money, and it's still their job to help you regardless. A buddy of mine was in therapy with his wife. She told me later that my friend, let's call him Gary, has a drinking problem. Me, wait, what? Since when is Gary drinking? I never saw him drink alcohol. That's the problem, or Gary, I hope you are fine now. I remember having this one couple, mid-30s, who just couldn't see any possible chance for reconciliation. She was mad at him because his bowel movements smelled bad, and they only had one bathroom. The kicker is that he always would spray air freshener, yet she said it wasn't enough. She felt like if she needed to use the restroom, she shouldn't ever have to smell him, albeit mixed with air freshener smell. So she had finally had enough, and she wanted out. He begged and pleaded with her not to. He even tried changing his diet. Nothing. They came to me for help, and I'll never in my life forget that first meeting. He sat down with weathered, puffy eyes. He had been crying quite a bit, looked me straight in my eyes, and said, "Doc, you should have used a serious tag. Apostrophe. Damn dude, you really had me all the way to the end." Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you want more videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. You are helping me a lot. Thanks again.